What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Just wanted to hop on here real quick, do a little Steelers Ravens preview. It is Ravens week. I always get really hyped up about this matchup. I know the rivalry been around a long time. It's just definitely something that I grew up with. Excited to watch this matchup on Sunday. Just before we get started, going into the matchup itself, I wanted to highlight some injuries. The Steelers are going to be down several different starters: Fryermuth, Leal, James Daniels, Presley Harvin, Dan Moore Jr. But it looks like Kenny Pickett's going to play, which is a good sign for his health. Broderick Jones going to be getting his first career start. No James Daniels, so we'll probably see Nate Herbig again in his place. DeMarvin Leal probably going to lead to some more playing time for Keanu Benton, and same thing for Darnell Washington. So, some young guys going to get some extended looks against the Ravens, get their first look into this rivalry. On the Baltimore side, sounds like OBJ is going to play. Marlon Humphreys practiced a little bit this week. We'll see if he goes. No Morgan Moses for them. Ronnie Stanley's questionable as well after he was a DNP on Friday's practice. So Ravens, they've gotten healthier. They're getting some guys back, some guys that haven't played much this season, which is a good thing for them. The Steelers coming into this one a little more banged up after kind of a worst-case scenario kind of game against Houston where they suffered some injury and didn't play very well. I just want to start kind of on the offensive side of the ball for Baltimore against the Steelers defense, just kind of giving you guys a little bit of what to expect. Did a full breakdown on SteelersNow.com of the new look Ravens offense if you guys are really interested in the kind of a deep dive. But some of the things you can expect, they're spreading things out more. They got more 11 personnel. They signed, added a bunch of receivers. You got OBJ, Nelson Aguilar. Of course, they drafted Zay Flowers. So they're doing more stuff, spread the field out, a lot more quick passing game for Lamar Jackson, while still keeping in their run game attack that they had that was so successful under Greg Roman. So they're trying to blend kind of the best of both worlds right now. And, it's working to an extent. It feels like they're still, ironing out some wrinkles on that side of the ball. But, they've been an above average unit to this point throughout the season. So should be a really good test. Lamar, the Steelers have had an awesome track record against him, albeit in a really small sample size. He's only started 3 games against the Steelers, but, has 8 turnover touchdowns in those 3 appearances. So pretty good, considering, the success he's had around the league. The Steelers have been one of the only teams that have really been able to slow him down. And I went back and looked at some numbers at the tape from the last time that Lamar played the Steelers defense. The Steelers defense played zone coverage on 42 of 45 dropbacks. I mean, that's an absurd number. Definitely not something that you see every Sunday or hardly ever. But that's kind of going to be probably more of the game plan this Sunday. A lot of spot drop zone to get their eyes on Jackson just to make sure that he's not able to kind of just hitch up in the pocket and get out and make plays with his legs. Try to keep him contained and reduce the amount of, explosive plays down the field, or especially when he becomes a runner, which is really where he becomes extremely dangerous. So, other guys that I wanted to highlight, keep an eye on Zay Flowers. I've been pretty impressed with him. I liked him a lot coming out of college. Just his speed, man, it's definitely worrisome because he has that game-breaking speed, not just, as a receiver where he can stretch the field vertically, but also as a runner. He's a really difficult dude to get on the ground. We saw that a lot at Boston College. Their running backs right now, they lost J.K. Dobbins. They're kind of running with kind of a hodgepodge of guys, but all guys that the Steelers defense have seen before. Justice Hill's been there forever. Gus Edwards been there forever. Gus Edwards has had a couple really good games against the Steelers, so definitely something to keep an eye on there. They brought in Melvin Gordon. So definitely there's some similarities, some carryover with their offense, but also some new stuff as well to keep in mind. The Steelers have done a good job historically on Mark Andrews, so that's something to keep in mind. I know Terrell Edmonds has had some decent games against Andrews, but with him no longer in the fold, it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of attack that. But one of the things I wanted to bring up with Lamar, just he's an awesome player. You just can't let him make all these explosive plays all over the yard. And one thing that the Steelers defense can do is obviously get pressure, especially no Morgan Moses, Ronnie Stanley. The edge rushers got to be really good with their rush lane integrity. When they get to Jackson in the pocket, try to attack the football. He's known to put the ball on the ground a lot. I think he's got the third most fumbles in the NFL since he entered the league in 2018. So, there are times where if you get pressure on him and you can heat him up a little bit, you can kind of, go for the ball a little bit. He's already committed a bunch of fumbles this year, most of which I think have been in opposing, like his own territory, setting the other team up for good field position. So definitely keep an eye on that. As far as the Steelers, when they have the ball, the Ravens defense is definitely different under Mike McDonald than it was under like Wheaton Martindale or some of their other previous defensive coordinators. McDonald's a really heavy zone coverage guy, but it's not just strictly zone coverage. It's they play a lot of zone match. They'll play some match cover three, but really their bread and butter is they want to play zone coverage. They do a really good job of keeping stuff in front of them. They don't allow very many plays. Their corners, they're kind of running out some veteran guys with Humphrey since he's been out. No Marcus Peters. He was there forever. They are getting back, I think, Marcus Williams this week. But really, like the guy to me that is really the X factor kind of in that secondary right now with Humphrey still working his way back is Kyle Hamilton. He's played safety. He's played nickel. Mike Tomlin talked at length about, his versatility and what he allows them to do on the back end. Hamilton's an awesome player, someone that I really liked watching at Notre Dame. Really versatile. You got to really be careful about like where he's lining up pre-snap. The Ravens will move him around. He's an excellent blitzer. So you got to make sure that you do a good job of locating him. The Ravens, the other thing that they really do a lot of is a lot of simulated pressures. So they don't blitz a ton, not nearly as much as they did under Wheaton Martindale, but they put a lot of bodies at the line of scrimmage and kind of just make you guess on who's coming. It's difficult for the offensive line. It's difficult for the quarterback. You got to make sure you identify and get your protections right pre-snap. So that's definitely something. I think Hamilton against the Colts game that I watched live, I want to say he had like 2 or 3 sacks. So, I mean, just there's a lot to game plan for up front. One of the things to watch for, the Steelers still rolling with Nate Herbig at right guard. They've struggled a lot to pick up stunts throughout the early portion of this year, so it wouldn't surprise me if Baltimore threw a ton at them, especially with 2 new offensive linemen, 2 backups in the game on this Sunday's matchup. So definitely keep an eye on that. The interior, especially like Mason Cole, it would not surprise me if they tried to attack him with some of their faster linebackers. Roquan Smith, Patrick Queen, both playing at a high level. But this one, Ravens, Steelers, it always comes down to, a couple possessions, a couple turnovers, key points in the game, all that stuff. I mean, we know how these games typically play out. I think the Steelers they've won the lion's share of these games in recent seasons. Obviously, hopefully that continues, but we'll just have to see. Just a couple other numbers. To Baltimore, I think, done a really good job on money downs, and in particularly in the red zone. They're the number 1 offense in the league right now in red zone efficiency. I think they're top 3 on defense as well. So in games like this, as good as Boswell and Justin Tucker are, it's really going to come down to who's going to be able to put points on the board, put touchdowns in the end zone when you're able to get kind of that far down on the field. So interesting matchup. It's definitely not a matchup that I feel particularly great about. The Ravens are playing pretty well right now. Obviously, the Steelers coming off a really embarrassing loss, but coming back at home, this is kind of a game that I think they have a glimmer of hope for because if the Steelers are able to win this game against Baltimore on Sunday, they go into the bye week 3-2 and with the AFC North Division lead. So I mean, as ugly as things have looked, you think about they've gotten blown out twice in 4 weeks. They've come away with some close victories as well. Going into the bye 3-2, AFC North leaders, that's pretty encouraging to me. So hopefully that ends up being the case, but we will see. Really excited to get after it. I'll probably do a post-game recap. I may go live on the channel afterwards. I may do a video. Just kind of depends on how I'm feeling after the game and what my workload's like. But just as a reminder, SteelersNow.com, you can check out my written work. I did a couple film rooms this week over there. There's a couple film rooms on the channel. If y'all haven't checked those out, look at those as well. And then lastly, thank you guys so much for the support. We crossed 4,000 subscribers in 6 months of the channel being a thing. So, I mean, that's just unbelievable, man. I know so many people on the YouTube grind that have worked their tails off. This is not an easy thing to build. And, you guys have made this extremely easy on me. I'm very grateful for the support. So thank you guys once again. And I will check you guys next time. Peace.